You know, I'm not the biggest comic book fan out there. My knowledge on DC Comics is as limited as the life expectancy of a McDonald's ice cream machine, but I am familiar with a few of the big name comics in particular. Comics that have pretty complex stories with branching plot lines, a variety of characters, and personal arcs each character has to go through for development. So when I hear some people say the new Superman movie by James Gunn is just like a comic book, or like a comic book come to life, I agree, because this movie tries to do way too much just like some of the comics. Except the movie's not very good. I originally thought this movie was pretty mid after coming out of the theater, but as I write this script and think about the movie more and more, I'm realizing a lot of the story just doesn't work because the movie tries to do so much that it fails at establishing proper setups and payoffs. It wants to establish Superman as a character. It wants to establish the world of this new DC universe. It wants to show the relationship between Superman and Lois. It wants to introduce all these other superheroes. It wants to have this grandiose plot with epic action scenes. It wants to do so much, but because of that, it doesn't take the time to set up all these concepts properly, and it leaves the film feeling like it's checking off a list of things to do, rather than telling a story that flows naturally from scene to scene. I don't even know where to begin talking about this. I guess we'll start with a quick summary of the plot, and then talk about the meaty, juicy parts of the movie that fail at establishing setups and payoffs. Alright, let's begin. We start the movie with Superman crashing into the ground after losing a fight against Ultraman, who is trying to destroy him for intervening in a conflict in Eastern Europe. Krypto finds Superman and takes him back to the Fortress of Solitude, where his robot helpers heal his injuries and give us an exposition dump by talking about a recording of Superman's parents they sent with him to Earth when he was a baby, but it was damaged during the crash landing, so only half of the message can be played. Thank you for the forced exposition, Superman robots. We wouldn't have known this key detail to the plot if it hadn't been for you talking about it. Anyways, they rub some Vicks on Superman's injuries, give him a kiss on the forehead, and slap his ass to get back out there and finish the fight. But what Superman doesn't know is that this was all just a distraction by Lex Luthor so he could find the Fortress of Solitude and break into it to steal anything he could use to turn the people of Earth against Superman. You know, Lex, you have Ultraman. He's kinda kicking Superman's ass. You could just have him kill Superman and forget about trying to cancel him. Okay, never mind. So Luthor finds the message from Superman's parents and is able to fix it, which reveals that Superman wasn't sent to Earth to be a beacon of hope, but a conquering tyrant meant to bear many wives to spread his seed and keep the Kryptonian race alive. Luthor exposes this information to the world, and the public's trust in Superman is destroyed instantly. This devastates Superman and makes him question who he is and what is his purpose in life. He surrenders himself to the US government, and they hand him over to Luthor, who puts him in a pocket dimension that he created somehow? And so Lois Lane goes to the Justice Gang to ask them for help in freeing Superman. They say no, but Mr. Terrific, a member of the gang, says he'll help her because, yes, and they go off to save Superman. While that was going on, Superman decided he's done playing cops and robbers, so with the help of Metamorpho, who is there because, yes, they break out and escape the pocket dimension and meet up with Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific as the portal begins to break and cause destruction to the real world. Superman is injured from the escape, and so Lois takes him to Ma and Pa Kent's house to rub some Vicks on his wounds, kiss his forehead, and give him a slap on the ass to get back out there and finish the fight. But not before Pa Kent reassures him that he is a good person and he decides who he wants to be. So Superman heads back to Metropolis to deal with Luthor, and he has an epic rematch between him and Ultraman, while the city is being destroyed around them thanks to Luthor's pocket dimension. During the fight, it is revealed that Ultraman is not actually Ultraman, but a cloned version of Superman.
Oh my God!
I guess the real enemy Superman had to face was himself all along. The writing sucks. So he kills the clone, then he confronts Luthor, and Luthor starts crying like a little bitch because Jimmy Olsen found out Lex was behind the conflict in Eastern Europe, and so he gets arrested for it. Everyone forgives Superman for being sent here to conquer the planet, and Superman and Lois sneak off to have some super hot, steamy clams for dinner because it's been a long day and they're very hungry. And the movie ends with Supergirl showing up and calling Superman a bitch. The end. Whew, my God, there's a lot. There are some things that I didn't even get to add because I either didn't know how to fit them into the summary or because they just aren't that important. I didn't mention how during the final battle, the Justice Gang decided out of nowhere to go stop the conflict that was going on in Eastern Europe again. I didn't mention the romance subplot between Lois and Superman and the conflict going on in their relationship. I didn't mention how Jimmy Olsen has to pretend he is in love with Luthor's girlfriend, who is also his ex-girlfriend, in order to find any information about Luthor's involvement with the Eastern Europe conflict. And I didn't mention that the reason Luthor started the conflict in Eastern Europe is because he wants part of the land to rule as his own nation. There's so much in this movie that a lot of the information and events are just brushed through real fast in order to get to the conflict. There's not enough time in the movie to focus on and flesh out every single detail that is meant to set up the plot points for the film. Thus, the payoffs fall flat of any emotional impact. The Superman robots giving off forced exposition about the recording of Superman's parents bothers me the most. Not only does it take place right at the beginning of the film, setting up a bad precedent for the rest of the movie, but there should be no reason the robots are talking about this. They should all know this information already. Now, to be fair, the film does try to justify this conversation by establishing one of the robots is new, and so the others are telling her all this information because she doesn't know. But I just don't think that's a good excuse. Superman's career as a superhero has been going on for a while now in this universe, so I would imagine any new robots would be programmed already knowing about the damaged recording. Exposition is supposed to provide context and background details, not be used as the sole means to establish a plot point. And that's exactly what it was used for. Speaking of exposition, rather than seeing Superman interfere in the conflict in Eastern Europe, we are just told he interfered. Apparently a nation was going to invade another, and Superman stopped the invading force before they could harm any civilians. He even goes as far as to basically kidnap the president of the invading nation to talk him out of going forward with his plans. This is also a key plot point for the film, as it pushes the debate of if metahumans like Superman should be allowed to interfere in foreign issues, because those nations might assume they are working on behalf of the United States. But rather than show us Superman's involvement to justify his argument of he was just doing good for good's sake, we are just told he got involved, and so the debate doesn't have the kind of impact the film wants us, the audience, to feel. Because we didn't get to see it, we don't care about the issue since we didn't get to see exactly how Superman stopped the invasion. We are just told he did. This is a visual storytelling medium where you can show the plot unfolding, which makes the audience more intrigued since they got to witness it and feel like they are a part of the journey. But when you just leave major plot points to exposition, the audience won't connect with it on the level you want them to. Thus, there is no interest in the unfolding narrative because we have no investment in it. A lot of narrative points are just told to us in the movie, rather than shown, which is why the plot doesn't feel like it flows naturally like a narrative should. Even smaller things are like this, or just given no reason whatsoever. Lex Luthor has a pocket dimension that he keeps prisoners in. How does he have this pocket dimension? Don't know, he made it off screen, don't worry about it. Why does Mr. Terrific decide to help Lois when the other Justice Gang members said no?
No reason.
Why does the Justice Gang decide to get involved and stop the second invasion attempt?
No reason.
Even the reveal that Ultraman is a clone of Superman happens out of nowhere at the end of the film, with no foreshadow building up to it whatsoever. All these things just happen without establishing any proper context or reasoning, just so the plot can keep moving forward. Ultimately, none of this would be necessary if the film just wasn't trying to do so much. If it just focused on one or two concepts and took all that extra time to really flush them out, this movie could have been a lot better, and the audience may have more of an investment in it. But because it doesn't do that, a lot of the impactful and emotional moments don't really stick the landing. Like the scene between Clark and Pa Kent. It's a really nice scene, but it could have been even more impactful if the movie had taken the time to show the relationship between father and son. And that goes for all the major plot points for this film. I really wanted to like this movie. Hell, I wanted to love it. I think the reason I find it so frustrating is because you don't need to do all of this in your movie to tell a Superman story. It's Superman. He should be one of the easiest characters to adapt and make a good movie with, yet Hollywood can't do it to save their lives. I mean, David Cornswet did do a really great job as Superman. I really believe he is the Man of Steel when he's on screen. He's actually my favorite part of the movie. But the story the film chose to tell with him is just so... you know what I mean? I don't know, maybe next time. Judging by the movie's box office performance and how James Gunn's DC universe is going so far, Maybe when they do another reboot 10 years from now, they'll finally make a good Superman movie. Hopefully the actor they'll get will be also equally cool, just like Henry Cavill and David Cornsweet.